Welcome to day 40 of our 40 Days of Strangers on the Way. I'm so excited that you're here for day 40, whether you've been journeying all along or this is your first day. Welcome. I'm so excited to walk through these 40 stories with you and just to end with one of my favorite stories. I'm really excited from here on. There have been a few strangers that I've been meeting out and about in town and on trips, and so I will be inviting them to share live with us. Some will be live, some will be story form, but in the coming weeks. And so really invite you just to stay connected, to subscribe so you get all the new episode updates, and as we meet and continue to journey with our own strangers on the way. And for day 40, I'm excited to introduce you to my friend Bill. Bill, a homeless friend. Come out of hiding. Come out of hiding, you're safe here with me. There's no need to cover what I already see. You've got your reasons, but I hold your peace. You've been on lockdown and I hold the key. A quote and a lyric from Stephanie Gretzinger. The 3-year anniversary of my dad's death came quicker than I thought it would. To honor him, I bought a memorial tree with a plaque in my neighborhood. I walked to the park after work one day, hoping the tree and the plaque would be planted. 3 fresh trees with no plaques were there, and I wondered if one of them was my dad's. I walked through the grass to see the 3rd tree, and at the same moment, a heron flying over a pond caught my eye. Herons had been flying over me a lot lately, and I wondered if they were a message from God. I walked down some small steps to a dock to get a closer look at the bird, and all of a sudden I heard, "What brings you down here?" A man was stretched out across a bench behind me near the water, using his backpack as a pillow. Before he could catch my eye, my gaze fixed on the hardback copy of a book he was reading, To Kill a Mockingbird. As he set the book down on his chest to look at me, I saw he was an older man with a white beard, beautiful piercing blue eyes, and a tanned, wrinkled face. "That's a good book," I said to him. I then noticed a stack of books below the bench, along with a pair of sturdy boots, cigarettes, a half-empty water bottle, and a bunch of crushed cans of Natty Ice. That's what we called that alcoholic beverage in college. I realized the man was probably homeless. A bit disheveled, he looked up at me sheepishly. "I picked up this book from the little library stand at the park," he said. "The book is way better than the movie, if you ask me. Movies always miss parts in the books." "I agree with that," I smiled. "It always seems to be that way, doesn't it?" "What brings you down here?" he asked again, and I replied, "Today is the anniversary of my dad's death, so I went for a little walk." "I'm sorry to hear that," he replied. "I remember when my parents died. After my dad died, my mom went to one of those homes where they take care of you. She was happy there. She wasn't alone, and there were people to take care of her. I was glad about that." "Do your siblings live nearby?" I asked. "No," he replied. "I'm the only one left." "Do you have friends?" I asked. "Friends?" he replied. "Well, I'd call them acquaintances. They're nice. Most people are nice. Some people check on me, and I'm meeting a man at 2 p.m. tomorrow who's going to let me do my laundry so I don't scare people away with my stench," he joked. Then he shared a bit more about where he slept the night before. "How long have you been homeless?" I asked. "Since the divorce," he said. 30 years ago. 30 years, I asked. "What is it like?" "You take one day at a time," he said. "Some days are hard and some days are good, but it's important to not sweat the small stuff because the small stuff doesn't really matter." Bill went on to share some stories about odd jobs he had throughout the past decade and local businesses that really helped him out. We ended up talking about faith, and he said, I used to think all of that was a bunch of nonsense, but in the past few years, I've thought God must be keeping me around for some purpose." "Oh yes," I smiled. "Absolutely. You're a special one." "Me?" he asked. "I haven't made much of my life. I'm homeless." "Your circumstance doesn't determine your identity," I reminded him. "Who you are isn't tied to the circumstance you find yourself in." He tilted his head to the side a bit and said, "That's true." At that point, it started to rain, so Bill and I parted ways. Later that night, my brother, mom, and I went out to dinner to celebrate my dad's life, and as my mom dropped me off, I saw a man knocking on the door of the convenience store at the bottom of my apartment complex. I recognized the sturdy boots and backpack. "That's Bill," I told my mom. It was 9:03 p.m., and it seemed like the store just closed. He sauntered away, and my heart sunk. I'm not sure what Bill has faced in his 6 decades of life, but I can guess he has seen more than I have. As I sat in my warm home listening to the rain outside, I wondered where he was and if he found a safe place to sleep. Aside from the physical challenges, I also wondered about the decades of isolation and loneliness. Who was there to fully see and know Bill? Who was there to encourage him and give him hope? Who loved him? Who was a safe place for him? In To Kill a Mockingbird, author Harper Lee writes, "You never really understand a person until you consider things from his point of view, until you climb inside of his skin and walk around in it." I wondered if Bill read that sentence in the book. I wondered what it would be like to climb inside of his skin. As my dad's death anniversary had been approaching, I thought a lot about what he had experienced on earth and how he viewed life. I think he carried a lot of shame, so it was difficult for him to be vulnerable around other people. He wasn't a stranger to loneliness. In a weird way, I saw parts of my dad in Bill, a longing for more in life with no idea how to get there, grasping for hope with no idea where to find it, relying on self instead of falling into the arms of others. The story wasn't over, though. I almost felt like I had a bird's eye view. Maybe that's what the heron represented, a higher perspective, a different vantage point. I saw the ways God was pursuing Bill, and I saw God pursuing my dad even when he couldn't see it himself. If I've learned anything in the past 3 years, it was that God will move heaven and earth to be intimate with his kids. There is fire in my heart this season to scream from the mountaintops. It's time to stop hiding. It's time to stop hiding the flaws. It's time to stop hiding weakness. It's time to stop hiding pain. It's time to stop hiding shame. It's time to come out of hiding. There is an invitation to come running into God's arms just as we are. There is an invitation to come running into the arms of others just as we are. There is an invitation to be a safe place for people to fall into. Bill and my dad's story seem a bit tragic, but I know we don't see the full picture, and their lives are a reminder to the rest of us that we still have time to make a choice, to choose love and risk and vulnerability and intimacy, to find a safe place where we let God touch those tender places in our stories so he can heal them, to find safe people who do not judge but come alongside to carry the burdens with us. I feel so strongly that this is the season where loneliness ends. This is the season where isolation ends. This is the season where hiding ends. God is placing the lonely in families. Psalm 68, verse 6. Family is your destiny. Belonging is your birthright. And as that song lyric says, we're not far from home. I can feel it. This is the year we find it. Let's wonder. Do you know someone like Bill who could use a friend? Are you feeling a bit like Bill these days? And let's activate. Who are you going to invite into your story? It's time to come out of hiding. There is much beauty in store ahead. Who are you going to invite into your story? And then let's yield. Imagine God singing this song over you. Come out of hiding, you're safe here with me. There's no need to cover what I already see. You've got your reasons, but I hold your peace. You've been on lockdown and I hold the key. Take 3 deep breaths. Picture your heart and your imagination. And inside of your heart, visualize an unopened door with a lock. Jesus comes to your heart, and there is a key in his hand. With a big smile on his face, he takes the key and places it into the door of your heart. He unlocks the door, and together you walk inside. What do you see? Ask Jesus what he wants you to know. What do you see? Ask Jesus what he wants you to know.